Hello everybody, Psych with Psych's Rec, Need for Speed, The Run. A rather interesting game with an interesting plot, at least I think so. And a rather interesting amount of stuff that has gone into me experiencing this game, and I'll get into all that as we get to it. The only one criticism that I'll make is that there's only really two game modes for people that are playing single player offline. You have the run, which is your story mode, if you will, and then challenge series, which is basically like any challenge series ever. You pick an area that you get limited to the type of vehicles you can use, and you have to complete a race basically within X amount of time. There's gold, silver, bronze, and platinum medals that can be achieved with it. There's no arcade mode where pick an area, pick a vehicle, and then pick your opponents, the number of opponents, the difficulty of the opponents, if they are all tier 1 or tier 2 opponents, things of that nature, and then just start and do like a race or a battle or a time attack or something like that. There really should have been something like that in this game, because only having these two modes is kind of limiting, in my opinion. Allow me to show all these off. The challenges, you got these 10 right here, which are unlocked through completing the specific areas of the run. The K and N challenge, which I believe is unlocked after completing the run. And then these 3 right here are based around challenges, not challenges from specific games, but that are kind of based around those specific games. So you got Need for Speed Carbon, Need for Speed Most Wanted, and Need for Speed Underground. The AEM challenge, I think, has to be unlocked with a cheat code. At least that's how I did it. Call me lame if you want, but that's how I did it. The Signature and the Signature vs. NSF editions are free DLC. So they were part of an update, which also added a Maserati car to your list of vehicles that you could use. Italian and Italian vs. the World was one pack of DLC that was released. And then you have the limited edition, which was originally just a limited edition that you had to pre-order, blah blah blah, but then they released this plus the Carbon, Most Wanted, and Underground packs all together in one piece of DLC. And then they released another piece of DLC that just adds a bunch of different vehicles. So with that, allow me to show off a handful of the cars. So as soon as I got into the game, I purchased the DLCs that I wanted, of which one of the wrecks of this game is DLC, so I wanted to get that in order to show it off. And then I purchased some of the other packs, which add certain things like you got an Alfa Romeo, and some of these Aston Martins, I believe, are, and a handful of other different vehicles. And then I noticed that one of the vehicles, one of the wrecks of the game, was still locked, and I was trying to figure out how to go about unlocking it, because it requires you to play online, and I just kind of didn't want to do that. As a matter of fact, I'll go all the way over and show it off. It's quite a ways away. There's quite a few vehicles in this game. Yep, quite a collection. Look at that. Oh yeah, they love their Nissans. Love their Nissans. Where you at? There we go. So these are like, beat 10 multiplayer objectives and 20 multiplayer objectives and all this sort of stuff. So I was like, I just don't want to do that. So I feared that there was going to be a wreck in this game that I would not be able to show off. But then, just kind of randomly goofing around, I clicked on one, and like this one says, this item's not available for purchase, but the El Camino that's available in this game was able to be purchased. You can just purchase vehicles that you otherwise would have to unlock through multiplayer play. So I was like, deal, buy, done. And then I started doing a little bit of research into the vehicles of this game and found out that there were a handful of vehicles that didn't even show up in the locked vehicles section. Allow me to show that off. As well as some other vehicles that are much more specific than just, completing certain objectives in multiplayer which I was not going to do anyways. Here we go. So this is one of them. It's an off-duty Ford Police Interceptor, as well as the Dodge Charger Taxi, which, weirdly enough, this is the only playable Charger in this game. It's kind of random. As well as a Ford Crown Victoria Taxi, which I always just enjoy, like, large, long sedans like that. Especially Crown Victorias. I've always enjoyed a good Crown Victoria in my time. So to see this in this game was really nice. So the only real way to get these, aside from playing multiplayer, is to purchase a, what's it called, accelerator pack, which basically unlocks everything in the game. And I was kind of like on the fence about it, but then eventually I just kind of caved in and I bought it, which was kind of foolish because I had already spent the money just to get the El Caminos in this game. So it was a waste of $2, I guess. But hey, I was able to, you know, get these, which is cool. And then there was still one vehicle that was locked. Allow me to... This right here, the Bmw Z4. This vehicle was specific to people who were part of the Autolog VIP status or whatever that is. I don't know. I have not a lot of experience with these 7th gen Need for Speed games. So basically what I did is I went out, I bought a copy of Hot Pursuit, and got the save file on my hard drive, and then, you know, verified my VIP status, and then bam, I unlocked this game. So I've gone through quite a lot of junk to experience everything this game has to offer, and I've spent quite a lot of money doing so, which I don't know if that's bad necessarily, because I do feel like the game does offer enough to give you its money's worth, or your money's worth. So with all that out of the way, let's actually proceed with showing off the wreck of this game, which I already said was an El Camino. Whoops. But oh well. Do the Water Rush. Tier 1. Yep, there we go. Chevrolet El Camino, 1970, SS. It's, you know, pretty nice, but one thing I really love, so right here you can select, you only have this option of colors that you can choose from, but what you can do is that most vehicles, especially most stock vehicles, have certain style packs that you can choose from. So you can choose this one, which got like a little bit of a body kit difference as well as different rims, or usually the last one in the list is like super different, like this one got lowered down, different rims, different body kit, as well as it's got a wing on the back. Let me see if I can, the camera will pan around to it eventually. You can kind of see it back there. I think the next camera switch will show it off better. There you go. Oh, yeah. So it's there. But one thing that really makes me happy is I believe it's this one. Loading, loading. That's one thing that's awful about this game is the load times, but look at that. Silver El Camino with the black El Camino racing stripes. To me, this is my dream variant of an El Camino. This right here. If I could have this, maybe add like the racing aspects to it, like the rear wing and maybe some little body kit adornments. I think I'd prefer that just a little bit more, but just this right here is like a dream come true. If y'all remember when I did Midnight Club 3, the first El Camino that I showed off in that game essentially looked just like this. The dual racing stripes with the gray finish is really nice, and old Nebraska license plate, because why not? So further proof that it's like a dream vehicle come true. So I'll go ahead and choose this while we move on to actually showing off the different events that this game has to offer. Oh, there it is, the Violent Court Fountain from San Francisco. The actual, like, real thing, because this is San Francisco, except for Driver San Francisco, which doesn't have this for some reason. Yes, this is actually San Francisco. San Francisco is actually the very beginning of the main part of the game. And I'll get into the story and plot of the game in the next event that I show off, but I want to just talk a little bit about each of the different vehicles. They all come in 6 tiers, 1 through 6, 1 being, you know, the slowest with the slowest acceleration and usually the best handling and whatnot. And they go all the way up to 6, which is obviously more so like the sports cars, the exotics and whatnot. As well as each vehicle has a 6-tier handling ability. It starts with easy, then goes to normal, then challenging, then very difficult, then expert. Okay, so it's only 5, but all El Caminos in this game, including this one, which is a tier 1, have expert handling, and there honestly are not that many vehicles in this game with expert handling, so the fact that every El Camino in this game, all 4 of them, have expert handling is kind of a rarity, and you can definitely tell because this thing drifts insane. Games love wreck-style vehicles that drift. All of them. Every single one of them. It's just... I think it's more so just muscle cars in general, and I would qualify the El Camino as a muscle car, even though it's got a pickup bed. So does that qualify it as a pickup? The technical term is coupe utility, but I don't know. I've always associated it as a muscle car because that's what it's most like, even though it has a pickup bed. So it's like, you know, 60% muscle car, 40% pickup. But still, that makes it more so a muscle car, in my opinion, of course. So there's the first area down. Just wanted to show that off. In San Francisco, the Violent Court Fountain and the Oakland Bay Bridge, I believe it was. Yeah, gold medal, all that sort of stuff. It's fancy, whatever. And I got point. I got so many point. That's actually like no points at all. But whatever. I had a perfect run because I didn't crash. And all my resets because I didn't use any. Alrighty, we'll move on to another event so I can show off another version of the El Camino. Alrighty, in the next race, showing off the only Tier 5 El Camino in this game. Yes, there's a Tier 5 El Camino, and this particular version is the Puppet Signature Edition, which is DLC only. It was part of the Signature Cars pack, I believe it was. But regardless, most vehicles have different signature versions, which is basically like individual people take a vehicle and put their own like body kits and rims and spoilers and paint jobs and vinyls and all that sort of stuff on it. So there's tons of signature style vehicles in this game, and this just so happens to be one of them. This one also is lower, like a lower body kit. Oh, see ya. That's a thing you can do. You can destroy cops. They all have like little green health bars, and the more you attack them, the more the health goes down. And I say health like a car has health. This isn't Cars, the game. I would love, it's a fantasy of mine, I would love to get into the next Cars movie, so I can be an El Camino in the Cars movie. Wouldn't that be something? Anyways, I figured I'd use this opportunity to talk about my history with the Need for Speed series. I have a little bit of history. The first game I ever played was Underground, and I really liked the vehicle customization aspect to it. And then I played a little bit of Underground 2, but not that much, just because the customization was just so much. It was a lot to take in at the time, so I focused a little more so just on the original Underground. And then the next one I played was the very first one on the PC. I played that one once, I believe. And, I mean, not memorable, really. And then later on in my life, I purchased Underground and Underground 2 for myself because I really wanted to get the full experience, and now I can definitely say that I think Underground 2 is amazing. I adore that game. It's kind of like, if I play Underground 2, then all of a sudden I'm going to really want to play Midnight Club 3, and vice versa, so. Also, I'm showing this race off because it shows off an excellent way how the shortcuts work, because a lot of areas in this game have shortcuts. They're denoted on the map by orange paths, and generally they're shorter. Oftentimes they're off-road too, but so yeah, that's my experience with the, and I technically do have Hot Pursuit because I bought it to unlock that Bmw Z4. So I'll probably end up playing that eventually. I am not purchasing any of the DLC for it because I didn't really want the game to begin with. I bought it to get something else in another game, so it's kind of hard to say like I wanted this game. But also it was super cheap, so you know, I have it. I'll probably get around to playing it sometime. But anyways, next area, next El Camino. Alrighty, the Cesar de Leon El Camino edition, which was actually the person that I was racing against in the last race, and I figured I'd show this off because we're in Nebraska! Can you believe it? Yeah! Nebraska is actually represented in this game. It's some town called Rushville that I've never been to, and probably never will. But I looked it up, and it's like a real place on Highway 20. So I figure I'd take this opportunity to talk about the plot of the game. It's actually pretty interesting. The whole plot is your character, Jack, basically got in too deep with the mob, or the mafia, and they tried to kill him because he owed a substantial debt. So, in order to earn the money to pay back that debt, there is this nationwide race called the Run, where you have to, you know, put in whatever it is, like $2.5 million to enter, and the winner keeps the pot. So the entire race starts in San Francisco, goes all the way to New York City, and you pass through a lot of different, you know, landmarks like, hey, Rushville, Nebraska, oh my god, hometown, yay. Well, not hometown, I'm not from there, but that's everything that Nebraska is about. Water towers and bars and post offices and Legion clubs. Anyways, you start in San Francisco, you end up going through Las Vegas, through the Rocky Mountains, across the Midwest Plains, into Chicago, across the kind of northeast industrial area of like Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, through the Jersey Turnpike into New York City. So it's a pretty interesting little story and how it all works. I completed the whole thing in a day. I don't know, I couldn't put it down because I realized that it was going to be really short, and I don't know, I just really wanted to see the end of this game. I thought it was great, and this game sounds amazing. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my god, game sounds so good. This game sounds fantastic. I don't know if it's the game itself or it's the fact that my TV actually sounds really good, because to, you know, experience the game itself, I listened through my TV. But this game sounds fantastic. This is one of the best sounding games I've ever played, and that's something I don't really talk about much, so you know that means something. It was really good. Alrighty, final event. Alright, showing off this last race in a Tier 4 Need for Speed Signature Edition El Camino. Most vehicles have a Need for Speed Edition, which is essentially the same as the Signatures, except that it's, you know, Need for Speed, yada da da da. I forgot to mention the Cesar de Leon Edition is also Tier 4, so But this is one of the aspects of this game that's fantastic. These little significant set pieces that go on in the game. There's also some like quick time events that happen when your character's on foot. You don't actually control when he's on foot, but there's certain quick time events that happen. So, but then there's also little set piece driving moments like this, like we're driving down the Rocky Mountain as they are, you know, shooting off flares to cause avalanches. That's pretty sick. I wish I could show off one of the other events where basically you're being chased by the mafia in a helicopter shooting at you with machine guns. It's really cool, but unfortunately you can't use El Caminos for that particular event. But it's just, it's so good. I mean, this is really intense, but I mean, that's really cool because it feels so much like MotorStorm Apocalypse, because you're driving through this city and things are falling down and you're being like shot at and things are exploding, and it's like, is this even a Need for Speed game? But yeah, these little significant set pieces that happen more so in the big city areas, but this one obviously takes place on the Rocky Mountain, so Independence Pass, for anybody who's wondering. I'm assuming that's a real area. Oh my god. I'm assuming that's a real area. Also, one aspect that this area has is ice on the roads. You have to keep that in mind. Oh. So good. Obviously, it's gimmick to look like this, but it's just, it's so good. And then the lights go out, and man, this would be freaky. This would be freaky, yo. But I suppose after I get done with this race, that will be the end of this wreck video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time for the next Psych's wreck once I get done with this. And some more explosions. There's the very last thing that happens is pretty intense as well. Oh goodness. These expert handling vehicles, not good for mountain roads. Or anything, really. I think the guy's right on my tail. I would check, but I'm too afraid to take my eyes off the road. Oh, rocks. Oh, tight turns. Please don't do this to me. Oh. Just play it yourself. You'll get it. You'll get a first-hand understanding of just how intense this feels. It might not even actually like really be that intense, but oh god. But it sure feels that way. Again, because of the sound of the game. Oh god. Oh goodness. Oh. Safety. Rapture. Oh. I love moments like that in this game. Alrighty. That's everything and more that I wanted to show off. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time for the next Psych's wreck.